everybody, what's up? I am doing a random stream, and my dog just came out into the crowd. That's okay, honey. It's okay. Okay. I'm starting a stream, okay? Alright. Random stream as ever. I am grinding away at Sega Touring Car, and I'm doing the time attack, and let me just see, I don't know, I turned off the music so I don't get, like, flagged, because there is, like, licensed music in this game. We'll see, Joe and Steve, Joe, Sega RPG fan, and Sega Steve, they are going at it, and they are doing very well. I haven't caught up to either of them, but I do think I have the current best time on, what is it, let's see here, on, Brickwall Town, only because I'm, like, it's just decided to drift the whole course, whereas, oh, Robo Dave, okay, of course, technical difficulties abound. How's that? Is that any better? Let me know. I'm in general voice if anybody wants to join me in the Discord chat. That way I can actually talk to you. Otherwise, I'll just have to check out your comments every once in a while. I won't be able to read comments while I'm like in the zone racing. Feel like you're getting better hang of it. So let's see. We've got Danthrax. Sunday's a good day for racing. Yes, indeed. Fired up STC for the first time yesterday. Captain Hodden said, starting to enjoy it. Feel like I need a few hours at least to get into it. You're going to need, yeah, to invest time in this game just to get a feel for it, because most of it is all about grip and not, not letting the tires slip at all and not dropping revs. Basically, you want to keep the RPMs as high as possible. Anytime the tires slip, the engine spins and it revs down. So you kind of just want to like really finesse. I've noticed that folks started out on training wheels. I call it training wheels with the Opal, and that was like the meta game. And then everybody realized that in order to surpass their own times, they had to switch over to the rear-wheel drive vehicles, either the Supra or the Mercedes C-Class, which have extra speed, but they're a little harder to control. I believe everybody's just going full throttle and then really just making really fine adjustments with the analog stick. We're all using the... Actually, Sega Steve is using, if I'm not mistaken, he's using the racing wheel, which is amazing, actually. And if that's true, then his times are absolutely flabbergasting. Honestly, but you know what? That makes a great argument for giving the arcade racer another shot. Honestly, if that is the case. Oh, he's doing 3D pad now. See, I think he said, and I hope I'm not misquoting you, Steve, that the arcade racer has like this finer sense of control, but the 3D control pad allows you to make like micro corrections really quick because of the less travel on the stick, and you're just able to like correct yourself really quickly. And it is like, it's one of those things where we've gotten to the point where it's really just about not making any mistakes. I think as you're running the course, you hit something and you already knew that your whole course was blown, and you're like, okay, maybe I can hold on, maybe I can, but that you can't. We're at the point where we've basically tapped out, and now we're just trying to like get a couple milliseconds better. And at that point, it's like, if you hit anything, forget it. You might as well just start over, unless you want the practice. The one thing is I tend to race. I tend to just go ahead and keep racing because I need practice with other cars on the track. And you don't get that. Well, at least when I'm doing the arcade side. Anyway, I'm going to get right into it. This might be terrible to start with, just because I'm going to be rusty. But last night I was like grinding this track over and over and over again. Where most of this game is about grip, this track has so many obstacles. I find that just drifting it is... and I have to restart. Like I find that drifting this course is the best way to go. Let me just see here. I don't know. Nope. No, that's too sloppy, honestly. It's like it has to be so much more perfect than that. But man, I did some service on my control pad yesterday, opened it up and lubricated it, and now I feel like the acceleration isn't responding as well. Okay, well I'm just gonna have to get stuck into this, and I'm gonna have to do terrible at first so I can do better. Gotta like drift these turns like this, kind of just kind of like tapping the acceleration. Go into this corner and flip it. That was terrible too. Okay, we'll do better. We'll do better. I don't know. It's so narrow. It is so narrow, but that's why drifting seems to be the thing to do. And if I just concentrate, I can get into the zone here. By the way, I cannot look at the comments while I'm doing this. It's impossible. So if I had someone in the chat to read comments or whatever, or just chat with, that would be better. Because then I wouldn't have to look down. But anyway, Joe told me he wanted me to, or somebody to provide beta footage basically for this, so I said I would. Yeah, what you really want to do in here is just stay away from the grass, just stay on the road. And that was just so sloppy right there. It all comes down to putting it all together, like putting everything together and not hitting that wall. Turning at the right point, not turning too soon. Oh my god, okay. I'm gonna start over. I actually have I promise you that I'm good at this. Please don't
I guess I can join in, Pat, a little bit.
Hey, Steve, thanks. Now I don't feel so alone. Okay, you come in here and just no, I don't use the brakes on that turn. At least I haven't been, but now I'm hitting. There you go. See, smooth drifting through the course, turning at the right times, drifting and staying on the track is the key.
Yeah, I haven't run this track a whole ton yet, but yeah, it definitely doesn't have the banking that the first track does to help you around the corners.
Yeah, that last hairpin, the secret is actually going into the corner, going into the opposite corner away, and then flipping the steering, basically allowing your car to like flip out. Basically, I'll do it again and I'll show you. You know how you always want to go like out, in, out. But with that corner, it's like extreme. You want to go out to the extreme and then flip the vehicle. You stay over here, then you go into the corner here and flip it. But I was too much acceleration and didn't do it early enough.
And then slam into the wall.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the thing, is like the muscle memory of like when to turn your vehicle so that you drift right at the exact time. Mm-hmm. But when
trying to get exactly at the apex of the corner.
Yes. When I was able to put it to, so I like did this as a grip track with the Opel, and I was able to get pretty good times, but I wasn't able to beat Joe's. I wasn't able to beat either of your guys' time. And then when I just
it's gonna be a different driving style with the all-wheel drivers, the rear-wheel drive cars, especially for something like this.
But on the straightaways, you make up so much time with the Mercedes or the Supra for that matter. And if you can just figure out that delicate drifting, then that's it, you know, like you can manage to put down some respectable times, and really you just want to stay on the asphalt. You don't want to touch the grass. Even if
as much as you can.
Even if you're drifting, the problem is the psychology of having other cars pass you and being okay with that, like and running your own race, you know, like when you're doing
it gets real tricky when the other cars are all around you, and you have your line you want to run, and they're right there.
Oh, they can just totally mess up your line too. Yeah, like that's why qualifying is so important, and kind of running the race in front. But I think that drifting this course, you will have probably in the arcade mode, you'll have other like grip drivers, you'll have the all-wheel drive vehicles passing you at certain points, and you just have to ignore that and just kind of like run your own race, you know? So yeah, that's pretty bad. Each one of the laps here should be like 31 seconds or less. But what do you think of the game, Steve? I'm curious.
For the longest time, I know you've called it your guilty pleasure game. You've liked it. I tried it years ago, and yeah, just kind of like everyone else, just the controls are so twitchy compared to everything else. Just like, I can barely do this.
Right.
I never made myself put the time in. Like, right. I figured the game would probably be okay once you figured out, how to control it. But once you actually get into it and make yourself, like, force yourself through that first couple hours to learn the controls,
right?
This game's amazing. Like the actual, driving, how the car reacts, a sense of speed is
okay.
Yeah.
I'll fix it later, honey. Take it inside, okay? Anyway, yeah. So, sorry, my daughter came out to tell me that Jesse broke something. It's okay. You just brush it off. So yeah, I agree with you definitely. What is it like? Essentially, I think that for the longest time I made apologies for this game because so many people kind of parrot that same thing. Oh, it's impossible. Like they threw their hands in the air immediately. Oh, it's nothing like Sega Rally. It's nothing like Daytona. So
it's not trying to be though.
It's not trying to be at all. I think maybe the one thing is like the expectation versus reality is that this is a arcade game technically, and yet it's so much more like Gran Turismo. You know, it just happens to be kind of like the format is arcade, but it's so much more similar to Gran Turismo, don't you think?
I don't know if I could really comment on that because I haven't really played much of the Gran Turismo games.
Hold on just a second. I'll mute my mic for a second. All right, let's see here. Okay, so sorry. Anyway, yeah, it's I mean, it's not exactly like Gran Turismo, but I think that the developers definitely wanted it to be a more like technical arcade game, you know? No, the job of being a dad never stops. Luckily, the thing they broke was just one of their toys, and it was a cheap toy, so it was not a big deal. But, of course, she had to come out and tell me about it. And Jesse wants to bike over to his friend's house after Megan gets back. So now you guys know everything. Fun. And Jesse did yesterday. He did like a Pokemon tournament, card game tournament, and he won a couple rounds, like for the first time. And like before that, I think the most he had ever done is a single round, and so he never got to go on. But I was gonna pick him up yesterday, and he's like, don't pick me up because I actually went on to the finals. I was like, okay, nice. So yeah, he's really getting into it. And I guess like with everything, there's like a metagame. All of the contestants are like playing psychic decks, and his goal was to like beat that with dark. So he's like building up this dark deck to kind of take on all of the psychic decks. And he's very proud. He's very proud of his dark deck, Dark Fire or something like that. I keep looking down at the comments to see if I missed something, but Yeah, so this, but I'll be honest with you, this track is probably the most fun for me because I love drifting, like in this game, even though you're totally not supposed to, and I just ruined that. Let's try it.
I really need to get a hang of that part of it because, yeah, for the most part, I've set my set all my time on the country circuit so far.
Oh yeah, you'll beat me. I'm sure you will.
As you can probably see with my lap times on that one.
If I'm not mistaken, like you had I think your old profile pic or something like that was a car, right? So are you like a car guy? Are you?
Yeah, kind of.
You're into cars. Okay. So you know how to drive. You understand like physics and of driving and stuff like that, and tuning cars.
Yeah, like how the car is, going to react depending on what you hit. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I had a feeling. I was like, when you started putting up those times, I'm like, okay, Steve's into cars. He's into like racing and stuff. I did not know that about you though. But yeah, no, yours and oh my God, Joe is just a beast. Like I don't know how he does it.
Oh God, he's
I don't know. I just don't get
near
it.
The top of
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, like the same goes for like Sega Rally. He's a beast at Sega Rally. He's probably great at Daytona too. I don't know. He said he likes this game better than Daytona, but I am not doing a good job of showing Joe the beta or whatever he talked about, but because I just can't get my head in the zone. You know how that is, right? Like this game requires like 100% concentration.
Oh yeah. Like when I was doing those fast runs on the country circuits, like you cannot have any distraction, any sort of.
And if you do, you just have to start over. Yeah, it's like my wife will come out and she'll get something from the deep freezer, and I'll be like, well, start over. She's like, seriously?
It was actually something that if you were really racing these tracks, you would not be focused on anything else.
No, you'd have tunnel vision, basically. In fact, Joe mentioned that the game has like a certain amount of detail, but it's completely lost on you because you're not looking at it at all. In fact, I'll slow down here, and you'll actually see that everything is very, very low detail. It like there are a lot of objects, and when you move really fast, it all looks kind of a lot more detailed than it really is. Like I don't know if I can.
Oh yeah, like when you're at speed, like the graphics just kind of turn into nothing, and it seems like a perfectly detailed game. You just kind of wish the frame rate was a little better.
Exactly. Like that's exactly what happens in real life though. Like when you're going that fast, everything's just a blur. I can only imagine like with the Isle of Man TT, like that, those guys are really booking it.
Oh yeah.
I love Dan Trax. His comment is nice anti-metagaming. I'm like making a fool of myself here, but I promise you that drifting with the Mercedes or the Supra is the way to do this course. I'm convinced.
Yeah, that's really how you have to do it on the flat corners. Yeah.
See. Like
every corner is a little bit different. You got to figure out, how much swing you have to put into it to keep your speed under control and where you want it.
Yeah, I doubt that I'll break my own time here just because of the difference in focus. But at least I can demonstrate like what I'm doing. At its best, it's all just like, see, that would be a mistake because I left the tarmac or whatever. Like you just don't want to leave the tarmac. That's where you get, even if you're drifting, that's where you're getting all of your grip.
Well, it kind of depends. As long as you're not going far enough that you're really smacking the wall, it's not that bad. Put a tire or two in the grass.
If you drive straight across it, there's really no penalty. But if you slip on it, it's kind of not great.
Yeah, because when I was doing the fast laps on the country circuit, that last turn as you're going into the start finish line, probably more than half my laps I'm dipping the back end off into the grass, and if you keep out there, a small detriment to your top speed.
Are you using landmarks to turn, or are you just kind of feeling it? Like, do you just use distance?
Just kind of feeling it, I guess.
Yeah, because like Joe was.
I'm not really thinking like anything in particular in my head.
It's like a rough measurement, right? It's like a rough measurement. You're like, I think this is about the point when I'm supposed to be turning, but every time it's a little different.
Probably to an extent subconsciously, I'm probably noticing some stuff going by, and it's like, okay, this is the point.
Right.
As I'm going into the turn, I'm realizing like, okay, this is a good one, or oh crap, that was too early, too late. What corrections do I need to make?
Yeah, see, I can already see that this isn't going to be good enough because I have a 32 on there, and they all need to be 31 or less. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
On the on that the country circuit, and it's every single lap I have is in the mid-low 22s.
Yep. And it's like.
Even that fast run that I just posted, my very first lap is a low 23. I know I left almost a half second on there.
Really?
Because I've run like 22.7, 22.
That's another 32. Yeah. So I can't. I doubt I'll strike at my own best time on a stream, but I'll keep trying. It's so funny that like it almost feels like the goal here is to kind of go slower. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens when there are other racers on the course, But I think we're all doing this. I think we all kind of like put up our best arcade 2-lap score. And now we're just working individually on time attacks, right? Because when we finally achieve our best times on each course, then you string it all together into an arcade time, and that'll be the way to go.
What I'm going for. Is I'm going to go and try and learn, get as good as I can on each course, and then I'm going to go back into the arcade.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go.
And yeah, I mean, at the point I'm at, I can get to the front of the pack, in the first race, and then just kind of focus on the other tracks. It's just I'm kind of crap at the other tracks for the moment. So.
Yeah. Lawrence Goodchild, I think, says Dan needs to be next to me as a co-driver or like a rally. The thing is, in here, the extra weight, I wouldn't want the extra weight. I'd be like, get out of the car. No, on rally, though, they're like zipping down hills and stuff like that. Like, that's just like a part of it. Like, I don't think that the extra weight necessarily slows them down, because I'm starting over on this. But let me just see who all's here. We got Dan, of course, Captain Hodden, Steve, you're there, Sasquatch, David Zaney, Dave Madden, Oka's Retro Stuff, hello, and Lawrence. All right, let's do this again. So yeah, this first corner is just trying to like run it like a straight line, basically. Trying to get through there.
Yeah,
without
we're getting a real fast lap, but that's going to be key, is just gunning it through that whole kind of chicane.
And then, that chicane. The chicanes can be kind of tricky. There it is. I did see that would be a start over, instant start over, if I was actually trying to like improve my times. So
if you were doing hot laps, hit that bad would be.
Yeah. But yeah, basically this corner right here, this thing right here, you want to actually go into that. That's why it's there. I realized that you actually want to come along this side, go into this corner and flip it. And that's how you do that corner, basically, that hairpin. Yeah, I've also noticed that you can...
good ones here and show us.
Yeah, if I can actually demonstrate it right. I've noticed you can also, during time attack, you can run in the pits if you want. You can run through the pits. I don't know that it's necessarily... beneficial, just because when you get out of the pit... I
thought about trying that to cut the track a little bit shorter on the first track, but it's such a small little area you have to hit, and you have to be sideways going into it.
You really do.
I can't hit that consistently.
Yeah, and then so like if you're in the pits, coming out of them, you have to be prepared to do that kind of stuff. Like exiting the pit on country is kind of dangerous, because if you don't have enough grip, you'll end up hitting the wall, and then there's your whole run. So Nintendo Complete, they put up their own video or playthrough on this, and they use that trick the whole way. They used the Toyota Supra and they ran in the pits, and I was just like, okay, that's an interesting way to look at it. I did it.
Yeah, I was actually watching that last night and saw that. I'm like, huh.
You saw that. So I did that on country, and it did improve my times. but then I just did it the traditional way that you're doing it, and the way that I was doing it to begin with, and found that was just faster. It's just faster because it's also a smooth transition, you know. And it's something that you're able to keep much more control of, much more consistently, you know. Like every time you try to go into the pits, you're asking yourself, like, is this gonna work, or am I gonna totally screw up my run, you know? So that's the thing. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I got distracted there for a second. Anyway, yeah, so your plan is to hit Grunwald next?
Now, yeah, I need to put a little bit of time, a few hours into that, and figure it out.
Grunwald is like a fun course, because it's like, it almost feels like a downhill racing thing, you know. But the problem is there's a really long section of Grunwald that just goes really low on the frame rate. Oh, that was bad, right? 3 is what is the current record? I don't
like 230 something.
Yeah, I can't even remember what I did, so that was just like really bad. I have to look at my own phone at the pictures that I take, so that I can see, like, okay, what do I have to beat right now? But yeah, so that's the thing about Grunwald is that it just the frame rate dips so much due to the detail. Okay, so yeah, see here, what was my best time on this? I don't even remember. Time attack. Where was the brick wall? 235. Wow. And I just ran it 3. Wow. Okay. that's really bad. Also, I for years I've been telling people to try my and Jane Sega guys is in here in the chat. I want him to hear this. For years I've been telling people to try my tuning settings on the Mercedes. Screw that. My tuning settings suck. All my tuning settings on the Mercedes do is help it drive more like an all-wheel drive car, which might help a newcomer to the game feel like they have more control with it, but it's never going to help you improve. Like the way they have the Mercedes set up from the factory here, I guess, so to speak, is the way you want it to be. It's just like, for so long I've been recommending folks try those tuning settings, because they make it stickier, basically, but they also make it kind of slower, and they make it turn in too dramatically, you know. So yeah, like,
yeah, when I was after I like first leveled off and I couldn't get under like a 156, I was messing around with the tuning a little bit, and God, it makes a big difference in this game, but
I don't know if it's a difference.
But then again, you have to relearn once you have the different, you know, feel of the car. Right,
and you can't race a tuned car on the arcade side. So there's the benefit of learning the factory settings, is that you're going to be able to replicate whatever you can do on the Saturn side. You're going to be able to replicate on the arcade side, and that's important. Took it too fast. It's like you have to let up off the gas and start turning and swing the car, like drift the car, and you have to do it at just the right point, and then put on the gas again so that you stay on the tarmac. It's a delicate dance, I tell you. And then I can only imagine with other cars coming by. Yeah, you dip in here, flip the car, put on the accelerator. The tires kind of bite right there at the corner, and they'll try to like have you hit the wall. You just have to be really careful. There we go. Got it.
Oh yeah, like when you're driving, like you hit the point in the corner where all the rubber's gone and you know, stuck into the track. Like it feels different as you're going over all of that.
Oh, another thing I noticed. Tire wear is a thing in this game. And if I don't know if you've noticed, but after doing an arcade attack all the way through and getting Grand Champion and whatever, and then they give you the Boomtown circuit, you know, as like an extra. Have you noticed that your car just does not want to turn anymore? It's because your tires are shot. Your tires are basically shot at that point. Oh, I always turn in too early there and hit the... Yeah, so you can actually pit in this game, but dang if it doesn't take so long. Like, I can only imagine it helping on, like, Grand Prix mode or something like that, but I don't know.
Yeah, definitely on all the shorter races we're doing, you gotta pretty much ignore the whole pitting aspect of the game.
Right? It's like it's there.
Doing, what, the next couple laps or something.
It's like it's there just for the fun of it or something. I don't know, because
well, I mean, on an actual longer race, I can see that should serve a purpose. Either that, or drive conservatively, try to save your tires, or drive more aggressively, get faster lap times. But then you might have to take the time to pit.
Mm-hmm. Feels so good. The drifting just feels so good on this. Like, it's all I want to do is just drift. 241, that's not terrible, but
yeah,
it's not my best.
Not too bad.
It's not too bad. It's just
2
not.
seconds off your best.
Okay,
yeah.
hold on a second. Muting my mic again. Junie. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Sibling rivalry. So they have a fort, right? And Jesse knocked it down. And I was like, well, you got to go have him fix it. Like, what am I going to do? Anyway, let's see here. What did her brother break this time? Dan. She's still 5, so she doesn't know that. She doesn't get the message. She's like, she forgets. Like I said, I wasn't available. You guys are gonna have to solve your little wobbles or whatever. Yeah, so anyway, I don't know, yeah, it's a much better game than people give it credit for, and honestly, I don't really think the port is that bad either. Like, I've played both the arcade version and this, and I just think that it's misunderstood. That's all. People go in thinking that it's like a drifting arcade racer and that you're just gonna pick it up and play and be, god at it, but no, it's gonna take more time and dedication to, like, really. But once you just get that bug and you start, beating your own best times, that's really when you start enjoying it, I don't think I'm gonna make apologies for this game anymore. I'm just gonna say, you know what? If you think that it's impossible to control, then you probably haven't spent enough time with it. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
You've spent what?
You really have to spend a couple hours on the game to. You definitely need analog controls, and you have to spend a couple hours with it minimum to learn them and how everything reacts.
But I mean, if back in the day, if you bought this game from, if you went to the store and you spent like $50 on this game, $60 on this game, you would sit down and you would learn it, right? Because you wouldn't, now that we live in the day of like ODEs and emulators and stuff, people fire it up and they just want to like be amazing at it right away. And when they're not, they're just like, okay, well, no loss, no investment, basically. I'm not out any money because I downloaded it illegally, and then they're just like, well, it sucks. It's trash.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like almost every other racing game I've played, as far as I can remember, you can go, just, full steering into whatever corner, and just depending on the speed, you'll do, whatever cornering that you want to do. This game, it will turn you 90 degrees and send you into the wall because you oversteered.
Right, exactly. It's pretty punishing. It's pretty demanding, but it's not broken.
Yeah, I mean, what would happen if, if you were going and, going 200 miles an hour and all of a sudden you turn the wheel?
Yes.
Not much. You'd go, either you wouldn't grip and you'd go straight on, or you would go into the wall.
At that speed, you'd disintegrate. Like that kind of a mistake at that speed would just be ridiculous. So that's why they have to wear harnesses. You know, that's why you have to basically be harnessed into the vehicle. And you have to have a roll cage and everything like that, you know? Normally it has music. I turned off the music because I didn't want to get copyright struck. And also, you know what? I actually like hearing the vehicle. I like hearing the engine revs, and I like hearing the tires on the ground. I do that with, I know that it kind of takes some of the fun out of it, but I do it with Sega Rally as well. Because when all I can hear is the sound of the motor and the gravel hitting the undercarriage on Sega Rally, that's how I judge whether I'm doing well or not, you know? Funny enough, so.
Yeah, I mean, I leave the music on when I'm playing, but yeah, it's, you know, as I'm cornering, you can tell by how the engine's revving, you know, how fast you're taking the corner roughly.
Yeah.
You don't have to go and look down the speedometer for...
I actually do. It's not on here. I cannot focus on anything except for the turns here. But when there's more straightaway, like on country, sorry, I'm always kind of looking in my peripheral vision at the RPM gauge, and I'm just like not wanting it to drop too low. You know how it gets when you're on a really long corner and it drops down and you can kind of feel yourself kind of chugging there? I noticed that by just, instead of holding the analog trigger, but instead of holding the analog stick, but instead just going like boom, 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 like little adjustments, you can kind of keep that rev up and still get through. I'm gonna try the Supra again, but it kind of reminds me of have you ever watched Initial D? You know, the grip tape death. Yeah, the grip tape death match. Like his hand is like stuck to the wheel, so he's only able to make really fine steering adjustments. So he just goes full throttle on that thing the whole way, and then just uses like fine adjustments in steering to be able to like swing the car. And that's kind of
what you have to do throughout most of this game.
It's totally true. It's totally true. And
you've probably got a death grip on the controller while you're doing it, too.
Oh my god. My hands. I feel like I have arthritis, on this controller. But yeah, I have to use like this hand exercising thing afterwards just to kind of physical therapy myself out of it.
Yeah, actually, I found on the 3D controller, instead of... You know, it's like most racing games, I'm so used to just going directly left or right with the controller for steering. But it's so hard to hold like a consistent angle doing that.
Yeah.
I end up on a lot of the corners, I hold the stick all the way straight forward and kind of roll it around the edge and just kind of pin it at whatever angle I want.
Yeah.
And then just hold it there.
You know, here's the thing though. I will say, running this course as a grip... running this course with all-wheel drive vehicles in grip mode for so long, I've gotten so used to turning late because you can get away with it. But when you're running this course as a drift, you have to drift early, you know? You have to like do these like chicanes
it's
where
completely different how you drive the course.
You change directions quick. You have to change directions early in order to be able to get through it and stay on the tarmac. It's crazy. Somebody's watching TV or something.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me turn it down.
That's okay.
My apologies. No, I actually
like,
jumped in to ask you how your stick is doing.
Oh, how is the stick doing? Okay, so I took it apart, and I didn't like disassemble the analog stick. It just, as people probably know who have tried, it feels like you're gonna break it. You know, like I would love to like completely dissect.
The little tabs.
Yeah, I'd like to dissect the stick. No, I mean I took the stick out, you know, and I lubricated it with like a silicone-based, plastic-safe silicone-based lubricant, and that seemed to fix the binding that was happening for the most part. But I didn't like actually take the top off because it's like pretty stuck on there, and I'm afraid of breaking it. That's the thing. Like if these were easily replaceable.
I think I tried that one time, Dave, in the
Did you?
There's a spring underneath.
Yes.
Where I'm thinking if you can get a little more, you know, tension, you might fix your problem. Or if we can get a replacement spring, that'd be great, because I could use one as well.
He needs to hear, yeah, a replacement spring, but built to that exacting standard. Like, that's the thing, is I know nothing about, I know that springs can be made, you know? Folks, I see those videos of crafty folks who recondition old things on YouTube, you know? And they're able to make their own springs and stuff like that, but I would be so afraid to, like, these controllers are so proprietary, right? Unless some entrepreneurial, you know, enterprising individual decides to, like, give us some, like, replacement parts for this, that would be nice. Or just, like, completely rebuild it. I don't know, but you'd have to.
I mean, maybe if you took measurements and shopped around a little bit.
Yeah.
Just got to meet that guy that works at the spring factory. That's all.
I realize this is not a very interesting... people who don't like racing games are not going to be interested in this stream, but this is what we're doing. It's a SHIRO community challenge. We're all trying to get better at this game. We're literally trying to get good, which is kind of what you have to do. It's not...
Yeah, this game definitely makes you get good at it if you want to be any sort of decent.
Yeah, but it's also really rewarding, wouldn't you say? Like, when you finally get it, you just...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You just yeah, like, as you're doing laps in this, like, you can see what you did wrong every time that you do it.
Right.
And
31,
yeah,
come on.
just that accomplishment when you actually get everything going right for a whole race, for a whole, you know, time attack run.
Right. Man, that slide is just... It feels so good when you just get it right and you just drift smoothly through it. But then when you hit the wall, it's just like, oh, darn it. I ruined my own perfect line. So James, I know he put up a time on the arcade. And I expect him to post times of the time attack, because he's one of the better racing gamers that I know. At least on Sega Rally, that's his cup of tea. Have you seen that channel, SRC, or like Sega Rally Championship, like the actual YouTube channel that goes by that name? Their like times on Sega Rally are insane. Like, I literally can't comprehend how that's possible.
I don't think I have.
Oh my god. Yeah, like they
have to pull one up and check out Lakeside, right?
Yeah. But yeah, like I don't think James, I don't know if you're able to get in chat or if you know, Steve, but is tire wear even a thing in Sega Rally? I don't think it is, right? I don't think it factors in.
I don't think so.
Yeah, because in here it definitely is, and I start to see it. By the end of the... Oh, you know, I just realized these runs that I'm doing in time attack might not even apply. Like, I might not even get the same kind of feel when I'm doing arcade mode, because I'll already have the tire wear from Country and Grunwald. And then going into this one, my tires are going to be pretty worn out, so I may not be able to drift this as cleanly in the arcade mode as I can in the... I'm topping out at like 238 right now. And I need to hit 235. Yeah, that's not happening live, I guess. It's that extra...
Not with all the distractions talking to you.
Right. But that's what a stream is about, you know? I don't want to just be sitting here biting my lip, you know? Anyway. I'll do Country, and I'll try to improve that. Steve's in the lead. You just hit 1 minute 5.2, right? Which is insane.
Yeah, and 152.7 something, I think it was.
So like high 152. Okay, 152.7 is the thing to beat, and that's insane. Like,
yeah, even that run, like my very first lap I left almost a half a second on the table from what I've done the best on my first lap.
Really? So you think you can get down into like the low 152?
With everything, yeah, as
perfect.
far as I've been racing, yeah, low 152, high 151. If I could get everything perfect.
Yeah, you got to run like completely perfect. That's crazy. See those RPMs?
And then past that, I mean, I bet someone could do it, but I don't think it's going to be me.
Oh, I do. I don't know. You or Joe seem to be the ones that have the feel down for it. I don't know, unless some unknown just comes in and completely wipes the floor with everybody. Could be Lewis, right?
You never know.
But I don't know, like, he was using a PAL copy of the game, so I don't know if that was, or I don't know for that recording if he was using the NTSC-U, because he had like he's a UK fan, and he had like a picture of the PAL copy of the game. So I just don't know what version he's using. But yeah, I wouldn't want to use the PAL version of the game, to be honest. It's
I haven't tried the PAL version. I've just got the US version of my satiator.
Yeah,
it's not that.
I think it's more of a slideshow than even this, you know. And it got kind of reamed in the magazines, you know, once it came out for that purpose. But yeah, you see, like, I'm just doing what you guys are doing. Oh, there you go. It's over. It's over. I just bumped the wall.
Well, even with my runs, you know, a hit like that, if it was just one, I get the rest of the run perfect, it would be, you know, about what I've been doing.
Right.
But I'm just looking at your lap times here. Like, I've had my first lap down to like a 22.7 or 22.8.
I hit again. Yeah.
And then my you know, all the laps after that are like low 22s, like 22.2, probably on average.
I'm trying to make those micro adjustments so that I don't drop revs. Yeah, so...
The trick is just maintaining as much speed as you can through this course.
I actually
like a couple days ago, none of us would have hit that time you just hit there.
Right, and that now it's like, that's just too slow. Like, I need to hit 153, you know, just to
3 days ago, I looked at that and thought you were God.
Yeah, I know, right? That's the crazy thing about racing games too, though, is that you always think you're great and then somebody else is better, you know? Like, there's always someone else who's faster, and it's almost hard to imagine how someone could be faster, you know? It's crazy.
Yeah, until you're the one doing it. And...
Right.
Yeah. It's actually part of why I like keeping the Ghost on, so I can, you know, see and compare. You know, because say you had just that run there, like a 154, you know, I can compare where I am to that.
Yeah. I do this thing that's kind of funny. I just pause the game after I cross the finish line, and I look at the time, you know, and I'll be like, okay, so 2-3 for the first lap is not bad, right? Like 2-3, low 2-3s.
That's not bad. I mean,
it's pretty wanted, typical.
Like, you know, yeah, that's about what I got on my run, that my 152 run.
See, I couldn't hold it. I slid too much and hit the wall there.
But that little tap right there, I'd just keep driving.
You would, because you don't want to have to like start all over. But at the same time, it's just
like if I know I had, you know, a good run till then, that right there wouldn't kill it for me, unless if I'm just going for all out, you know, trying to get 100% perfect.
So now I'm at 2.2. I call that high. I just round up, so it's like high 2.2. That it's like the rest of them have to be low 22. You know, in order, and you know
the
that
combination of that right there, you're not going to beat my fast time.
No, I'm not. And that's where you start asking yourself, like, do I really need to log this? I mean, you might as well just start over. I wish that this had like a quick restart, like Daytona USA, where you can just hit the 3 buttons, you know, and just start over.
Yeah, not have to wait through the whole loading screen again.
Exactly. So that's high 2.2. That's not going to be. Yeah, you already know, like, and I hit again, so it's like start over. Just
so
scrap.
Does using the wireframe mod count as a disqualification?
Most likely. I mean, we all have to be playing by the same rules with the same version of the game. It's fun. I did try it. I do think you're absolutely right. It does, you know, obviously it takes away that bottleneck of VDP1 or whatever, the choke point you were talking about.
Yeah, we can make it do untextured polygons as well. I'm not sure if that's better.
Do it.
I'm not sure if it actually makes it run any better, honestly, but when we were looking into it, we found a couple things that jumped out at us for what could be causing it to perform so much worse than, like, say, Sega Rally or Daytona Championship Edition.
Level of detail?
So there's that. There technically is an LOD. Fastlane was able to point that out, but it's so far away that it's almost minuscule what it's doing when it actually pops in. But the other things that jumped out at us are they're using very high resolution textures on the walls, whereas Sega Rally they both use like 128 pixel wide textures for the floor, for like the track texture and all that. Both Sega Rally and this game use that. But what this does differently than Sega Rally is for like all the walls and the banners and like those tires there, the guardrails, all the signs, the trees, those are all 128 pixel wide textures as well, whereas in Sega Rally they're like 64 or lower. So what happens when you do that on VDP1 is the way Saturn renders, the polygon is the texture. So basically,
yes,
even though your polygon may only be like 24 by like 10, if your texture is 128 by 40, it's going to draw all of those pixels in that tiny polygon over top of each other.
Yeah.
And that just causes it to waste time drawing pixels that it doesn't need to draw.
Wow,
so what doing like an LOD system and having it subdivide as it gets closer to the camera, and that helps relieve that.
Yeah.
And honestly, like these walls are going by so fast that, like, would you even really notice if they were lower resolution?
Still 154. I cannot. Yeah, there's no way I can improve on a stream, you know. But I can at least. You know what though? I know now that even my subconscious is able to run close to my best. You know, I can be like talking to you guys and listening and not really focusing. And now I've got like automatic, what do you call it? Like memory, muscle memory for it. So that means I must be getting better, right? Because then if I'm actually concentrating, it's like, it's funny, Joe, you post your time, Steve, and then Joe's like, you're not letting me rest. Because like, you know, you want to post up like that best time and then just be able to like sit there and relax, you know, but nope, you're not letting me rest.
I'm not letting myself rest.
I know, but I'll try.
I might now on that course, because God, I don't know how much more room I have in it. If I can actually pull off 5 laps clean enough to better what I did.
What's the goal for Grunwald right now? Does anybody know the time to beat? This one really kind of eludes me. Like, I'm not exactly sure what the best way to run it. I haven't figured it out yet. And that was garbage. But the funny thing about Grunwald is, well, not funny. It's just sucks.
Yeah, Grunwald's, Joe's at 232.
232, which is phenomenal. Because I couldn't even come close to that. I think the thing is with Grunwald, though, is it really suffers the most in this entire game. It suffers the most from low frame rate. And you'll see it right here. It's so choppy. Watch this. Watch this right now. Boom. The frame rate just gets so much faster right after that. I'll show, like, if folks concentrate on that next time, you see right as you go around that left turn, all of a sudden the frame rate goes from like 12 frames a second to like 25 frames per second, and you notice it. That was slow. And right here, it's so chuggy that it's like hard to even, I would say that
this was one this and the city one are the ones I always struggle on, because like it just goes to a slideshow.
And that's the thing, is it's like you have the course memorization, you're not doing anything wrong per se, but your car, you just lose, you lose that, maybe it's you have less time to react.
You have less chances to put in input.
This is true. Less chances to put in input is what it technically is. And also, I don't know what else is it. It's also the difference of going from a smooth frame rate like this right here to a choppy frame rate. That actually causes your timing. It throws your timing off.
The thing that's really nuts about it is like this really isn't any more like busy than like the Sega Rally mountain track.
No, it's just like poorly optimized, right?
So it's like, just so that's why I'm wondering if someone could go in at some point and figure out like how the models are stored and how the textures are stored.
Right.
Someone might be able to do a mod where they basically just better optimize the geometry and the textures and maybe get a significant improvement.
I wish.
Because like
that would be amazing.
Because like look at where it's chugging. It's where you get a ton of those like high resolution like banners and everything on the side, and it just dies.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, it's like it's one of those things where it just needed a tiny little bit more time for like that optimizations and stuff like that. But they were pressed to get it out because of these like net events that came with the game. You know, they like, and they probably saw the writing on the wall. I mean, if they released this game in late '97, the Saturn was already not doing great.
Yeah, from what I remember hearing with this one, it was this one and House of the Dead were like released like 50% complete, 50 to 80%.
It feels like that. It feels like I don't know if like XL2 had done this.
Well, apparently this is
better.
I have no idea if this is true or not, but the rumor is this is apparently the same engine as Sega Rally. So I think it's really just they probably took the arcade geometry and textures and just threw it at this and got like maybe just like one pass at optimizing and never got a chance to really tweak it.
Is that true? At least that's the rumor, is that this is the Sega Rally engine?
Apparently
like on loan?
Apparently Sega Rally, Daytona Circuit Edition and Championship Circuit Edition and this all use the same engine, apparently.
Oh,
whether that is true or not, I don't know. But there's some telltale signs that do at least lend some credit to that. So like the thing that like Ponut pointed this out, which it would be an issue with performance, but when you look at Sega Rally and Daytona USA, they do the same thing. Like you notice how the road really warps when it gets close to the edge of the bottom edge of the camera?
Yes.
So Sega Rally does that all as well, and it's because they're not subdividing the polygons very aggressively as they get closer to the camera, and then it warps. That's how Saturn texture warping tends to happen.
Right. Yes. And that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen on Daytona USA.
The original port, no.
The original port, right? And that I would imagine that it would, like, but instead it's one of those weird cases where it's an older game and yet it like does better on that part at least.
Yes, and then when you look at like Sega Rally, Daytona Circuit Edition, they all have that telltale like warping right towards the bottom of the camera.
Yeah.
In Sega Rally and Daytona, they're going by like at such a pace that you don't really notice it. Here, when the frame rate chugs is when you notice it because you just have more time to look at that.
Is that that affine texture warp that Carmack talks about? Like, is that the same thing?
It's the same thing as what happens on the PS1, but it's basically since they both approach it differently. It's because one's using quads, the other is using triangles.
Right.
So people always say like, oh, quads don't have warping. They do, it just presents differently.
Yeah.
On Saturn with how it does quads, it's going to happen as the polygons approach the frustum of the camera.
Right.
So when they're going off screen is when you notice it.
Huh.
So like if you look at, for example, Wipeout XL has a wireframe mode, and if you look at that, you'll see as it's getting close to the camera, it's getting very aggressive with the subdivision to prevent that from happening.
I gotcha.
Whereas
I noticed
these games don't typically do it.
I noticed Tomb Raider does that too. Like even on the Saturn, like when you get near a wall or something like that, it'll do that warping. But it's only like you said when you get really close to the camera.
Yep. And like this game is technically doing it. There, like we said, Faflane said there is technically an LOD system. It's just it's happening so far away you don't see it.
Oh, okay.
When you're in wireframe mode.
Well, that sounds like
it technically is subdividing them, but not to the aggressive level that you see in like Wipeout and that as it gets closer to the camera. And that's why you get that. It almost looks like the road is folding as it gets to the bottom of the the screen.
Yeah, it's kind of obnoxious. I don't look at it anymore, but when you first play the game, you notice it. Mm-hmm. It's like, whoa.
Which again, like, I don't know. I had trouble getting Sega Rally to draw on wireframe. Yeah. It depends on how the game is setting things up. You may not, when you just change the commands to use all wireframe commands, if there was no color set, you're not going to see anything. And it looks like Sega Rally's doing that. So you don't see anything when you tell it to draw all wireframes. so I can't tell how aggressive it's doing the subdivision at all. But the one thing Ponent pointed out is when you have very large polygons like that on VDP1 going off screen, that is really something it really struggles with in kill performance, because now it's trying to draw a bunch of pixels that aren't even seen off screen beyond the frame buffer.
Right. They need to be just called out, right?
Yeah. And because the polygon is still technically visible, it's not getting called out.
Right.
So that's, again, one of the reasons why you subdivide, because it helps reduce that.
This right here is the hardest part of this track. This first turn, just getting the feel for like where you turn so that you don't slide. And I think James said that in his race video. He's like, that one is the tough one, is just judging that and getting that first turn. It's not easy, and now it's just, now I'm just unraveling basically. Once you hit one thing, you have a tendency to just like ping pong, like pinball off of things. You know, you're just like, well, screw it. Oh no.
Yeah,
Two,
well, that's
three,
just
six.
overcorrecting from there. So.
What'd you say again? Joe was at 234. 234.
It's 232. I think it
232.
was. On
Oh
the
well,
track.
screw me. I'm not even close to that. Yep.
I haven't put up any times near that on this track either. So.
What's your best?
God.
Do you even know?
I'd have to go look. Not great. Yeah, so far the one that I submitted was a 237.
237.
Which I know I can do a hell of a lot better than that once I learn the track early, but
I would turn on the music if I could.
Time into that.
Yeah, if I could control what music it was going to play, I would, but I don't think on Time Attack you can. I think it's literally going to play a licensed track. Let's try the Supra. You know what's funny? Like every once in a while I'll just switch over to the Supra for like a change of pace or whatever. And essentially they're very similar. Although they sound different, obviously. With the Supra, you get that turbo sound, you know? You get that like spooling twin turbo going on. But aside from that, I mean, they essentially handle very similar. Joe seems to think that the Supra is more of a compromise between the Opel and the Mercedes. I'm not sure if that's true or not.
It's definitely a huge difference from the Mercedes. It feels to me like it might be a little easier to control and a little less power.
Yeah. The Mercedes is just like a bat out of hell, right? And it's like kind of like the least controllable vehicle. But the thing is, I think that they did that. I think they wanted to highlight the Mercedes as like this, you know, beast of a car, because it won like I believe it won multiple years in the DTM. Like it was a kind of a legendary vehicle with that D2 livery on it. And I think that so they wanted to make it like the hardest to control, so it'd be like you'd be some kind of like god racer if you could master it, you know. But you know, because there's always, believe it or not, there's always kind of like a narrative running through these arcade games that is lost on folks if they don't really know what it's emulating or what it's like drawing from. Like Sega Rally, for example, it's the old versus the new, basically. The Delta is like the king of the 80s, right? And the early 90s. And then the Celica GT4 is the modern, you know, it represents like the modern taking over, you know? Because that's what happened in the real real rally. You had like the Monte Carlo, what was the Lancia Delta Evo 3 or something like that, I think it was. Like it reached the pinnacle of performance, and I think it took like 6 straight, I could be misquoting, but I think it was like 6 straight victories in the WRC. So the Lancia or whatever was really like the car to beat, and then Toyota put out that Celica GT4, and it was it went on to do several victories, but not as much as the Lancia. So it's strange when you look at the covers of Sega Rally. If you look at the Western cover, like you look at the American cover, the Celica is prominent. But if you look at the Japanese cover, the Lancia is prominent, because there were like the Japanese like really romanticized over that vehicle. And for good reason. It's like, it's such a hot hatch. Ah, 2, yeah, no, 2, 3, 4, that's still 2 seconds too slow. Joe is a beast. I don't know how he does it.
He's in Grinwald, it seems advantageous to take that pit lane.
Let's try it. Where is the pit lane? I'm gonna have to run it slow just so I can investigate that pit lane. Cause I'm going so fast.
If you take the turn a little tighter, you should hit it.
Okay. I might have to restart or whatever, but I'll check it out. Oh, Double Dime is here in the chat. What's up, Double Dime? I need to schedule a match. I know. I need to schedule a match with Shadow Mask for Bomberman. I'm gonna go back to the Mercedes here. We just haven't connected on that. Let's see here. But I will get it. I don't want to hold things up like I did last time on Sega Rally. In fact, I'd probably be able to do it tonight. Okay, so the pit lane is where I didn't. Oh, it's right here. Like along. I'm driving alongside it, right? Okay, so to get to it, I'm just gonna have to throw this run away so I can figure out how that works. Will it really save me time though? That's the question. So here's the thing. The reason I see that being a problem is that you're gonna exit that pit lane going really fast, and then you're going to have to crank the nose like really sharply, and that might actually, I might hit the wall, but we'll see. So this is the pit lane right here. So you'd be going like really, really fast through this pit, right? And then when you want to exit the pit, you have to hold it. Yeah, I probably have to start turning early. Like I have to let off the gas and oversteer really early to kind of like get the car turning. I'm gonna try it.
I don't see that one helping
that much.
Maintaining your speed through this track.
How do you guys handle this corner, that slow corner? How do you guys handle that? So I'm gonna flip the car right here.
Yeah, that hard corner is the one I need to figure out.
I can't go through the pits on that. I need more I need more runway.
No, it doesn't save you any time going into it because you're already slow enough you can make that first corner, and then it makes it sharper out of that second one.
Which you don't want.
It's just going to slow you down, I think.
Yeah, even if you don't hit a wall, you're dropping RPMs. This right here, though. Okay, this corner, Steve, that I'm coming up on, like, what do you do? Do you not even use the brakes? Do you just, like, crank the steering wheel and then just, like, power out of it?
You're asking me about this track that I haven't figured out. I still need to figure that corner out.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm expecting I'd probably stay on the gas and hit that one with the banking on it and just use that to slow my speed down, but I haven't really figured that one out yet for sure.
I mean, that's where Shadow Mask is almost right. He said that, like, brakes are completely meaningless in this game. And it's true, like, I didn't use my brakes right there. All I did was, like, drift, and that somehow stopped me. Of course, in real life, I would hit that wall. I would hit that wall really hard in real life. So, you know, it's not
brick wall, you definitely have to use brakes at points, but...
I mean, I don't, though. I don't. I don't use brakes at all. Yeah, no, I'm running it more like, have you ever seen, have you ever messed around with those, like, RC drifting cars? Like, they're like...
Not the drift bumpers now.
Not the drift ones? Oh, okay, hold on a second. I gotta mute, because I got a call coming. All right, sorry about that. I needed to take a turkey out of the fridge. Long story short is when it was Thanksgiving, we got 2 turkeys for the price of 1. So 1 went in the deep freezer, and now we're doing like Thanksgiving redux. So there will be turkey sandwiches. 240. That's terrible. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Even my terrible times now are like good times a week ago. Like I would have killed to have that time a week ago. And it's not.
Oh yeah.
The only thing that changes is you. You know, you get faster, your reflexes, and your course memorization is so important.
It really is on this game,
isn't it? I mean, I think the same thing goes for any racing game. Obviously, that's probably why some folks. Was it Double Dime who was like doing really? Somebody in our community was like doing really well on the desert course in Sega Rally, and they were like, they found like this slope that you could go down, and it would almost like slingshot you toward the finish line without having you lose any traction. I can't remember who that was, but it might have been Shadow Mask. I'm not sure, but. Yeah, it's insane. Like once you memorize a course and you really grind it like that, you find little things like that. But yeah, the pit lane is kind of a party trick. It might shave a millisecond or so off of country circuit, but as far as the other ones go, I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth it to risk it. Because as we know, like
I'm still not sure about country circuit if you're going for, you know, a whole extra lap.
Right.
Because then it makes it that much sharper into the next turn there.
Oh, man. I lose speed.
You know, if you're doing it on the last lap in a time attack, it would cut it a little bit. Cut the course a little bit shorter.
Yeah. Yeah, when we come to PRGE, we'll definitely play some. Maybe we could do the split screen or whatever, you know?
Or probably should, and then let some other people try this game out.
Right. This corner, that one right there, the left right there, kind of eludes me as to like what the best. I need to like watch some footage or something like of someone else doing it. But and then this one right here, I'm not exactly sure like what the best solution is for that. Like right there, I just literally held the throttle the whole way. I didn't even let off. Just kind of like torqued the vehicle in an opposite direction and got it to slide.
Yeah. But I'm probably gonna have to spend like a half hour just doing the free running laps on that one to figure out.
Oh, is that what you do?
What best.
You do free run?
That's what I did for country circuit to get used to it and figure out what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. Then once I started getting consistently, you know, where it'd be under 2 minutes, then I just started doing the 5-lap runs.
Mm-hmm. I've been just doing 5-lap runs the whole way because that way I can kind of log my time and see like how and compare. I have time compare turned on. Do you have time compare turned on, where it like flashes the yellow time in front of you?
I actually don't.
Turn it on. It's great. Like it'll show you at every bend. It'll show you at every like major turn. It'll be like, oh, you just added time or you just took away time. Kind of like Sega Rally.
Maybe I'll try doing that instead of leaving the go song when I'm doing the 5-lap runs.
Yeah, it's really helpful. So
yeah, just for learning the course, I'm just doing free laps and just looking at the best lap time and seeing how good I can get on that.
It's clear to me on this one that 30-second laps or less is what it's got to be, and maybe Joe managed to hit a 29-second lap. I'm thinking I just hit, so there's no way I'm gonna beat him, but I'm thinking that's what it is.
See if I can find his submission, but
yeah, it's got to be though. See, 29, 30, and I hit 31, which, so yeah, like if he's at 232, then that means that he probably hit high 29s. Like he probably hit high 29s on most of his laps, which is one less bump. It's one less, you know, it's
his
just
232. He didn't even hit a 29 on there.
Really
33.48 is his best. But it's just really consistent between that and a 36.28.
Wow. Okay. That's crazy.
I don't know if we can figure out getting into the 29 seconds on the laps. That's really going to knock the times down.
Yeah. I'm just sending a text.
Yeah, it's really fun to see everybody try to outdo each other.
Yeah, and at this point, it really is like running your own race. Like I don't know that I'm gonna be able to outdo Joe or Steve. Like Joe's always found a way of going faster. And I just don't know if I have those kind of reflexes, to be honest with you, or that kind of concentration. But I can get close, which is good enough for me. Like at least I have a deeper appreciation for this game now. And it's not just one where I'm like, oh, I like it because of all the cool things it was doing. No, I actually think it's good. Like I actually think they did a pretty decent job. Of course, like considering the things that Trekkie said about like they definitely could have done better. There are things they could have done better. But all things considered, it's really not that bad. Which I realize is not. It's not a glowing review.
It's kind of arcane because most of the tracks you don't even tap your brakes.
Right? Yeah, exactly. You
can just get around it just holding the gas and just depending on how far you swing the car.
Right. Yeah, like on that one, if you really crank turn the nose in, the tires bite and you don't really have to worry about putting on the brakes. In fact, I wonder.
The trick is finding just the points in each corner where the car is going to bite in. And...
Right. And I wonder if using the brake is just going to slow you down. I ruined that. Right? Like if you do use the brake, you're slowing yourself down. The question is it better or worse than? Hold on just a second. Mama's going to be home soon, and then you can go. You can ride on your bike. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, okay. Switch time. Luckily, I can do that from my phone. Where is it? Setting. Sunday. That I love, that I can just give him time on the Switch from my phone. There you go. All right, you good? I just recently got what is it? Sonic Superstars. A lot of fun, actually. A lot more fun than I wasn't sure. But I know Dan from Sega Guys did a video on it, and it looked pretty cool. I got it for a discount at Best Buy, and so we were playing it, and it's fun. Not my favorite Sonic game, but it definitely... on the Switch, though, I noticed that it kind of chugs on the menus. Like, it almost looks like it's struggling to load. Anyway, yeah. So you said you have this on a satiator, but I take it you probably own a copy of this, right, Steve? Considering you own a copy of everything, right?
You'd be surprised how many U.S. games I don't have, at least at the moment.
Oh, really? Because that's not been your focus. Your focus has mostly been on Japanese games, right?
A lot more on just kind of weird oddball stuff.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know, like... One year...
I'd probably be in the biggest thing there.
I want to do some... So, like, for PRGE, I had this dream of... If we do like another Saturn lounge or something like that, I really want to show off the Saturn as like a 32-bit computer, basically, that it is, like a proprietary 32-bit computer with its own word processor and its own printer, and it's got its MIDI adapter. You can plug in a keyboard. So basically, like, I want a Saturn station where it's just basically every hole is plugged up, basically with something.
Well, speaking of that, I don't think I have a MIDI adapter here, but I've got, so I've got the console, I've got the printer, I've got the digital camera adapter to import pictures to the word process for the printer.
Digital camera adapter? That one's even new to me. Is that has nothing to do with the pre-fund, does it? Digital camera.
It's an add-on kit that Koei made to go with the Saturn printer setup.
Oh my god!
It's horrendously rare.
No
kidding. Edward uses it to import like digital pictures.
Yeah. It came with a new version of that to specifically to use that 2.0, I think it is.
You say Koei? You say Koei made it, or was it like Waka Manufacturing or something like that? Like who actually?
As far as who actually made it, I don't know. It's all sold and branded under Koei.
You're literally telling me something I did not know. I don't know
that. It's all part of the word processor setup they made.
Oh wow, okay, huh? I mean, I knew all about the Canon.
It hooks into the same thing that you hook the printer into, I think, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what they do, they so you have the adapter cable. Yeah, so you have the adapter cable that the printer normally comes with. You take that one, you throw it in the trash, and you use a different one that they give you. And that one, it has a separate power adapter to power that, because it takes more power than the original one, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so in addition to giving you the extra port to run the floppy drive off of and connecting to the printer, it also gives you composite video pass-through for an output from a digital camera to import pictures from.
Is printing done off of the serial port? I know there was one printer that used composite video to do printing. I think that might have been
goes off the I believe it does all go off the serial port.
Okay.
It does go off the serial port on this one. I think the pre-fund one uses composite.
Yeah.
Because does it just use does the cable just then give you like an adapter go into like just a typical printer port, doesn't it?
I believe so. It's just whatever printer port's on the back of those Canon printers.
It's just a Centronics port, I think.
I believe so. It looks like one.
My God, can you imagine? You have like the keyboard, the mouse, the floppy disk drive plugged in, right? You'd have the printer, but I guess there's no sort of hub that would allow you to plug in multiple serial devices.
The adapter cable for the printer gives you an extra serial port on it, so you can piggyback like the floppy drive or something else on it.
Oh, you're kidding me. That's
in the printer manual. They want you to add on the floppy drive on top of it.
Yeah, because
so you can save your Word documents.
Can you imagine being a kid in high school, Japanese kid in high school, typing up your school paper on your Saturn and then like saving it to the floppy disk and everything like that? Like that would just be, you couldn't do that on the PlayStation, That's crazy. But
I mean, we don't know a whole lot about. I don't know if we all know enough about the PlayStation library to confirm or deny if they had something like that.
I've looked up like modem, the possibility of like a modem. There never was one. There was, of course, the early PlayStations did have that port that they got rid of, the parallel port, right? So I mean,
they all do have a serial port though.
This is true. So I mean, I don't know. There's potential there. But the question is, did they ever actually do anything?
Yeah.
Waka Manufacturing, the Korean company that did the Saturn MIDI adapter, they did make the the line doubler, the Waka upscan converter. And that was a licensed product. And there are other weird peripherals and stuff like that.
So I think the Nintendo 64 also has some weird stuff like that too. Yeah. I don't know if it goes as far in depth in that, but the Japanese N64 had some weird stuff too.
I noticed the other day too that the music school, Saturn Music School, that boxed keyboard goes for like $1,000 or something crazy like that. But you can actually buy that exact same keyboard without the box. You can buy the exact same keyboard. It's just like a Yamaha. I forget what the model is, but you can buy it for like $100.
Oh yeah, like the Saturn printer is technically just the same Canon printer you can get for your computer. I think it's just in a box that says for Edgeward.
Yep, just has a proprietary.
No, like you take the Saturn box and you open it up, and there's literally the whole complete brand just in-box Canon printer inside of it.
Yep.
Yeah, but then how does it turn? So it just has a special adapter.
So here's my question: how hard is it to find ink cartridges for that thing?
Oh God! Well, you can make them your own. Your 3D print.
That's weird. I popped it open. That's the first thing I thought. And
do they still make them?
I looked up online. You can get them for like $10. Problem is, it's all old stock. So I don't know how nice the
You'd have to refill. Yeah, you probably have to refill them, but it's possible. It's doable.
I went and I bought a couple extras just because at some point I'll hook it up and actually try and print something with it.
That would be interesting if like they still made those ink cartridges. Because I know like for some like Lexmark and HP, they've kept like the same ones for decades.
So what would the ultimate Saturn peripheral station consist of? All the things we just mentioned. I didn't know about the camera.
You also want one for Game Basic?
I was thinking about that too. I was like, okay, so you could also, you're like, hypothetical scenario, you're this like kid who's just like a super fan, right? And you've got your entire setup. You write your school papers on this thing. You can also develop games on this thing. You've got, okay, you can put camera picture, you can put digital photos on there. What else can you do? Like, you've got an X-band modem, so you can play online. You can send emails. You can browse the net. Oh, they couldn't do that though in Japan. It would have to be a U.S. net link to do that. Oh, but they had it.
Yeah, wasn't there an internet disk they had? I think
there was Habitat. There was Habitat.
I think there was one they had at least for email. They didn't have a browser though. I don't think.
This is true. They did have like some kind of a community IRC chat kind of thing. It was kind of a walled garden deal that Nifty Serve kind of hosted. And then there was Habitat, which I think was also kind of like almost like Second Life or something. It was like you have an avatar, you can talk to people. But yeah,
someone mentioned in chat you could also put the video CD card in there.
Put the video CD card in there, so now you have an entertainment system. You could have like a wall, like a stat. I'm thinking of like for this kind of booth, creating like a bedroom scene, basically, like a diorama, create a scene with like a stack of like VCDs on the shelf and games and stuff like that. And then you have like the printer, the word processor, game development, like just kind of like showcase everything that the Saturn could do, because at the end of the day, it's just kind of like this proprietary 32-bit computer that uses quads and can play games at like low frame rates. So depending on
so if you really want to have fun with that kind of idea, one you could do is see if you can get like a 90s Toyota Celica or a Toyota Supra and put the high Saturn Navi in it with the LCD screen and the GPS software.
Oh right, yeah, you've got your GPS. Seriously, it was like everything you needed, right? In like multiple devices.
find like some Japanese car from the era that like works in, that like it can like sit and not fall off, and it looks like it fits and belongs in there, and put it in there.
Well, it would probably be some kind of minivan, honestly. Like I just got a fire pit.
In Japan then?
Say what?
Were minivans a thing in Japan then?
They were, but I guess the idea of minivan here, to them, our minivan would just be a van. Theirs is like legitimately mini. But they did have like minivans, but it'd be like a 4-person kind of like van-shaped vehicle with a little bit of extra storage in the back. And I think that was the example that I actually saw it in. I saw like some kind of a photographic example of the Sat Navi installed, and it was in a minivan. Anyway, that would be amazing. I'm sure we're missing something though. Okay, so you'd have your keyboard, you'd have your like music creation station over to one side or the other. You'd have a MIDI adapter plugged in, as well as your keyboard, so you could do like sequences and stuff like that. I imagine you'd have that. It's a shame that Technomotor, I think I'm saying that right? Technomotor, I don't think is compatible with the MIDI adapter, and that is like a missed opportunity right there. I think that MIDI adapter is only compatible with Music School, which in truth is a really boring game.
Like basically, you want to show off all the useless and extremely expensive Saturn peripherals.
And the folks who would be able to help me pull it off would be Steve and Kay. Like they actually have that stuff.
I forget. Do you have the floppy drive, or is that?
That's Peter. Yeah, okay. Peter got a floppy drive. I could. I just haven't. It's one of those things, like There's so many things that I haven't.
I actually picked up a floppy drive at PRG this last year too. So.
Yeah, I'm
still waiting for when you guys do it like an East Coast con.
Yeah, I just picked up a keyboard and mouse from Steve. Inbox, a Japanese Saturn keyboard. Steve, it's like QWERTY, right? Does it have like English letters on it? Or is it all... I forgot to ask about that.
If it's anything like the GameCube keyboard, it has both.
Right, I would imagine.
I believe it had both on it. I think that was my only Japanese... No, I've got another one here. I can go look.
I mean, the question I would wonder is it QWERTY, or is it some other kind of configuration? Doesn't matter.
It's QWERTY.
Okay. I mean, yeah. It was that, or...
The thing that surprised me with the GameCube one is it's tiny. I imagine the Saturn and Dreamcast ones are the same.
Oh, the Saturn, the Saturn American keyboard, which is really just like a rebrand. It's like a rebadge.
Same with the American Dreamcast keyboard.
Yeah, that one is just kind of like a crappy PS2 keyboard, basically.
Yeah, I have that one.
You have that one?
But the Japanese one, I think, if I remember correctly, I think it's tiny, isn't it?
Maybe. It does look a little bit smaller.
Yeah, the Japanese one is a little bit smaller. Yeah, it is Japanese English. It is QWERTY.
All right.
There's no number pad or anything like that, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's 10 key list. So.
That's fine. I don't think I'm going to need that.
That's where they're saving most of the size in it. The actual, size the actual keypad is pretty much the same.
I wanted to tell Ray last night after I was like grinding this game, I did go ahead and try the proxy site or whatever. He basically adapted the SHIRO website to like a proxy. None of the images would load, funny enough. And I mean, they load fine on the, so like I would just, on the netlink on the Saturn, right? I waited like 10 minutes and it shows like the little loading bars and it's like working and it's working, but none of the images end up loading. So it's interesting. Text,
the one thing that would be
was immediate though. Like all the text was immediate. And I was wondering to myself, like, why don't we just have like an ASCII art? Like all the images converted to ASCII and then they would just load immediately. I don't know. That's wishful thinking. What were we going to say, Trekkies?
So one thing I've thought about that would be interesting is see if you could put like, I've seen it in like the vintage computer Discord and that, where they have a base. I don't know if it's a bot or what, but they have a way to basically link IRC to your Discord server.
Yes.
So like people could then use IRC on the Saturn Netlink browser and talk to people in the Discord server.
Right.
But the thing that would be neat to see if someone could reverse engineer how it worked and re-implement it through that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
If I remember correctly, the original IRC server software that it had, there was like a custom command you could put in to matchmake in the IRC server, and it would basically, you'd be like, I don't know the specifics about it, but basically you type something in with someone you wanted to like play with, and it would auto dial the number and put you into the game.
Yeah.
For whatever game you were loaded up in and using like the Netlink browser on to talk in like the Netlink zone. Right. That would be neat to see if someone could reverse engineer and get that working.
I'm sure it would just be a matter of time and dedication, but I'm sure it could be done. Also, I think that there needs to be this kind of solution that we're talking about that can do, internet browser, mail, IRC chat, all that stuff, like useful tools. But it has to be done in homebrew. Like it has to be a new application that somebody writes, because there's nothing existing that's really gonna. It's got to be like a whole new homebrew software
Unless
suite.
Someone completely reverse engineered and recreated the X-Band service.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Which that had the matchmaking, the mail, and all that on the Japanese side at least.
But I mean the IRC stuff that you're talking about, like the chat.
Yeah.
If somebody wrote like a really robust software suite
IRC bot basically
that had all that stuff built in, so it was like your one-stop shop to do like social chatting and stuff like that.
Well, that's kind of what the Netlink zone was, if I remember correctly. It was something you could go to while you were waiting for a game. So really, like the software is there on the disk. You would just need someone to kind of figure out how the back end worked and recreate it on the server.
Zaiden had me design a logo for something he called Saturn Pipe. And it wasn't to be confused with the Dream Pipe page, you know, like and I was just like, what's this going to be? And he's like, it's kind of a surprise. Like, he hasn't realized it yet, but I think that's the goal. The goal was that for it to be like a community hub. I don't think that I'm revealing too much in saying that, but yeah, it was like, I asked him a while back, I was like, can you do anything with that? Oh, this is a terrible run because I already have 31s. I wasn't paying attention, but yeah, there's no way this is gonna end up being. Anyway, starting to go blind looking at this track. Too many bumps. When you start hitting stuff, that's where you just realize that you've got, oh my god, what? Oh wait, was that 235? That was 235. Never mind. Okay, for a second there I thought I saw an odd number and I thought that I did better. No, it was worse.
You transported through space and time.
I'd been seeing 3-4, 3-4, 3-4, so when I saw 3-5, I was just like, an odd number. Not the right odd number, though. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm hitting a brick wall proverbially with this one, but I think I all in all I did better on this. I improved on my time that I reported to Gregory, so I can at least give him a better time for that. I'm going back to brick wall. Oh, Steve, have you even messed around with Boomtown?
I did like one race on each of the other two tracks.
What's the other one besides Boomtown? I don't remember. Like I don't know that I've even gotten it. I don't know that I've even unlocked it. I might need to look at the manual and see like how that's done, because I know you can just set your clock, but to unlock it like officially, is that something you have to do on the Saturn?
Boomtown and Urban Circuit.
Urban Circuit. I don't even know if I know what Urban Circuit looks like.
That one I think is going to be the big pain, because there's a big, long, winding, narrow section on the on that one.
Is Urban Circuit the one
that's a hidden one. So is that the one where you have to like get I think you can get first by the end of the third race in arcade mode to unlock it?
Well, that's Boomtown, right?
I don't know how you unlock it. I did I put the arcade racer in port 2 and did the code to just unlock everything.
Oh, is that what you did? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to look into that. Yeah, I saw there was a
code for that. I was like, oh well, I won't have to worry about unlocking this, and I can see what we got.
Talk to me more about the arcade racer. I'm really so I haven't tried it at all, and I'm interested to know like what do you think about that? Like, what's your feel on that? I mean, first of all, you've scored some really good times with the arcade racer.
Mm-hmm.
But how's that possible?
At least to a point. I mean, up until I was hitting 156, 155 in country circuit, about there, I was using that.
156, 155, and now you're down to what, 152?
Yeah, now I'm down to 152 on the 3D pad.
So a difference of it like 3 to 4 seconds. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so maybe
maybe I can go back and do a little better on the arcade racer, but I don't know. I started up mostly on that because I was having problems for a while just getting the exact input that I wanted out of the 3D pad.
Right.
And you can go onto the controller screen, you can see what the input is, and just the slightest little moving the pad, and you're at like 30% input.
Joe had
and the arcade racer, you can go dead on exactly what you want with the arcade racer. So that's what I started out with.
Really?
Yeah. And then I was just kind of hitting a wall with that. I was like, I don't know, I'll try the 3D pad out, and
Speaking of hitting a wall.
Trying to think, like, how can I get a little bit more accurate on what input I want? And I, started, every corner I'm holding the pad up and just kind of rolling it around the edge instead of just going straight left and right.
I'd imagine the lack of analog gas and brakes would be an issue, at least for this game. That was like what I found made the big difference with this game, playing with the 3D controller.
I'm not going to say it probably really doesn't make a difference, but so much of the track I'm just flat out on the gas that I don't think it made a real difference, at least on country circuit, which I was using it on.
It's a shame that that Daytona USA just really doesn't feel good to me with the arcade racer, which is like the game that I want to use it on the most, just to kind of capture that arcade feel.
Like as a kid growing up, like 4 years old or whatever, that was what I did. Is I played Daytona CCE on the arcade racer.
Yeah.
Just nowadays, I can't do that. Like it just doesn't work. I'm so much better with a D-pad on that one nowadays.
Right. Yeah, Daytona is one of those games that I prefer to use the D-pad. And I don't even know that I would use the 3D control pad. The way that it controls, it's just the D-pad works really well for it.
Are you talking about the original Daytona?
I'm talking about the original Daytona, yeah.
Yeah, so that one, when you use the 3D run. When you use the 3D controller on the original Daytona, it's reading it like it's the wheel.
Right.
So you have to use it like it's the wheel. So
you have to push up and then roll.
And just roll along the side. Yeah.
Yeah.
It works, but it can honestly it can tire your thumb out after a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Man, gotta get those smooth lines. Gotta stay on this asphalt. So hard.
Yeah, speaking of Daytona and CC, the one thing I miss about the mid to late 2000s of Saturn collecting were all the times people were able to get Netlink edition because someone sold it as CCE.
Yeah,
I wish I could have been one of the people that lucked out on that.
Things that are no longer. Yeah, everyone knows what they have, right?
Yeah.
It's like gone are the days of like the mom, selling her son's gaming collection because it's like left in his closet.
There was one I saw once where someone got Radiant Silvergun for like $20.
Not that
this was when it was still going for like 150 or so.
Oh yeah,
150, 200. So it was still, people were paying a lot for it then. So getting it for $20 was like, what the heck? And when people looked at the auction, it was because it had been listed as Radiant Silvergum.
Oh yes, those mistypings.
So it didn't show up, and someone found it and bid on it and won.
So Steve is one of those dudes who has like a bunch of eBay notifications, and I imagine some of them are mistyped, right? Right, Steve?
Well, I don't really use the notifications for that because I don't get them consistently. But
is that right?
a lot of times what I'll do, I'll just put in the most generic term. Saturn, Sega Saturn, whatever.
Right.
And then just kind of look through everything. Because so many times, I'll know what I'm looking for, and I'll see it in the corner of this other lot that they have listed as something else, or...
You're like, oh, what's that?
Yeah, people mistype stuff, they'll get, something basic like that, but...
Another one was people who used to list Sonic Jam as Sonic CD.
Oh, yes. Yeah, exactly.
Or listing like just Sega Saturn stuff as Sega CD stuff, or just Sega.
Yep, Sega. I've gotten a few good deals on that, like where people just kind of failed to properly label it, At
this point with my collection, I think I have the bulk of the rare valuable stuff, at least for the US side. But I'm pretty much content that I'm not hunting any more whales or anything like that.
Yeah.
There's a handful they're like I'd like to have if I see them, but I'm not going to go out of my way for them.
You have a copy of Deli Soba Deluxe?
No, I don't have that.
You probably don't care.
It's like
it is a cave. It is a cave racer, right?
It's nifty, but I'm like No, I don't need to pay that much for that. I'll just satiate that one.
Right. You got satiate your need to get that game.
But I mean, like I think you saw when I posted them all on the SHIRO channel when I just dumped all the picture of like everything I had.
Yes.
So it's like, I have House of the Dead, I have Panzer Dragoon Saga, I have Burning Rangers,
right.
Shining Force 3. I have the big ones. So
right. You've got the big ones. And then there's the Japanese side of things, right? That's a whole other ball of wax.
Which I have the ones that I want for the most part in there. So it's like I have Street Fighter Alpha 3, I have Vampire Savior, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, I have Grandia, I have Lunar, all that kind of stuff, which is pretty much what I wanted from the Japanese side.
Yep.
Which is like I'm honestly just dumbfounded every time I see how much more expensive Street Fighter Alpha 3 has gotten. I paid, I think, $75 for my complete copy. That's like, it's not the RAM cart one, it's just the standalone one.
I messed that up big time.
Like I said, I think I paid like $75 for that. Now I look at it, it's like going for like $250, $300, if not more. And I'm like, that's not even the RAM cart one. That's like the standalone one.
What's up, Ghetto Finger Gaming? Join the chat. What's up? That's a new name that I don't recognize, so welcome this random stream we're doing. I really gotta get, I forget what you said your availability was, Trekkies, but I gotta get you on a cast. Because I want to talk about all the nerdy stuff, but I want to get it down on a recording that folks can reference. And you've got a lot more to talk about than just VCD stuff. Even though I know that's your, that's like...
And with all like the video encoding, it's really just I read the manual.
Well,
really,
sure, right,
that's what
right.
That's what my expertise is. I read the manual.
But that's the thing is, it's you're the guy who was willing to go down that rabbit hole. Not everybody is, right? You know, so you became the expert in that field because you were willing to go down that rabbit hole, you know, and go all the way. It's crazy. Like that's just crazy to me. And the fact that you were able to tap out so much potential from Cinepack just blows my mind.
Well, the thing with Cinepack is like really like the first time I encoded something, I'm like, huh, it doesn't look like crap. That's odd. And I tried throwing more stuff. I'm like, it still doesn't look like crap. What's going on? And the more and I'm like, I guess people just didn't read the manual or didn't know what they were doing back then.
How to use it? Yeah. Like they didn't know how to really like optimize it.
Well, like the thing that I found that really made the big difference, like what I was doing before I learned to still look decent. Like the stuff I did in Lunar and Soccer Wars still looked good. But what I found really got rid of like that telltale like pixel flickering that you can see sometimes in Cinepack.
Yes.
It was a note I read in the 3DO manuals for encoding Cinepack.
Oh yeah.
And it was one they said of like they had a note of like if your video is not one that you need to have like frame advance, like it's like not like you're trying to make like a DVD kind of thing, you just have like a game cutscene. They said don't set a keyframe interval, set it to the max number of keyframes and let the encoder decide. And that was what I started doing. That's when it makes that kind of disappear. Because when you see like that, it's almost like it's on a interval. You'll see like that, like a pixel, a pulse. Yeah. Almost like it's because they're inserting keyframes.
Right.
When they don't need to. But yeah, it's like some of them. There's some games I see. I'm like, I have no idea what they did to get quality that bad.
Like just didn't read the manual at all.
Well, so like one is like I think it's the Sailor Moon one, where it's like some of them aren't bad, but then when you look at like the end credits, it's like it's such like vomit level encoding quality when you look at it. And I'm like, what the heck did they do? And the only thing I can think of is they just left QuickTime on the default settings, and the default settings for QuickTime is like medium low for quality.
Oh, when you say QuickTime, you're talking about you're talking about like that proprietary QuickTime Apple video format or whatever. I mean, not like obviously I know what QuickTime.
That was the official pipeline. That was the official pipeline they used.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because they were using Macs, right, for all the graphic stuff.
And that's kind of what we still have to do if you look at the guide I wrote for how to do it.
Right.
And it's basically all they did is they had their video file on their Mac. They'd open it in QuickTime and they'd say encode this Cinepack, and they'd set the settings they wanted for the audio and everything.
Right.
And then Sega had a program that you would then feed that movie file it made in QuickTime into it, and it would just put it in that film wrapper.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
So
yeah,
it's like it's just all it is just standard Cinepack. There's nothing proprietary really about what Sega did. It was just they made a container for it.
Right. So what about TrueMotion then? Like TrueMotion attempted to be like an answer to a problem that wasn't really a problem.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with having different video codecs for people to use and try, really.
Right.
The thing with like TrueMotion can produce. It all depends on what you're trying to encode, really.
Mm-hmm.
So where TrueMotion I found really kind of can look a little bit nicer at times is if it's something that was like already low color, or if it's something really busy. That sometimes tends to hold up better. But the issue I have with TrueMotion is like it is such a pain in the butt to use that encoder, because it's like there's like 50 bajillion different knobs to play with.
Oh.
So it's like you can sit there for days playing with it and still not have something you're happy with. Or it's like the people who wrote it, they know exactly what knobs to push and what buttons to push, what knobs to turn, and everything to get something perfect. I think when you guys interviewed him, if I remember correct, the guy who wrote that, when you interviewed him, I think if I remember correctly, he said something about like he used to get like developers sending him their video files to encode for them, and again, like he's like, okay, here's some tests I did, here's the settings I recommend you use, and that's what they do. So that was the other side of it, where it's like TrueMotion, they had people that they could fall back on, like, hey, what do I do? Whereas Cinepack, it's like, okay, read the manual from QuickTime. But it's one of those things where it's like, I'd say TrueMotion kind of seemed to work better for people that may not have known what they were doing, or they had that support level to fall back on. Whereas the people who took the time to learn Cinepack, you'd notice like they kind of pulled ahead. So it's like you look at some of the Japanese stuff, like what Game Arts was doing with Lunar, Eternal Blue. That's probably some of the best stuff you see on the system. Red Company, when they did Tengai Makio, as well as Sakura Wars 2, those are some of that's all Cinepack, and it's some of the best looking Cinepack, some of the best looking FMV on the system.
Yeah.
Of course, like TrueMotion doesn't look bad. My main issue with it is the only one we have is the 15-bit encoder.
Right.
And it really can, depending on what you're throwing at it, it can look really bad.
Right. And they did a better one, but we can't find it, right? It's not on any developer discs. Eric doesn't have it himself. He's like, oh, I don't know where it is.
Yeah, I asked him. He's like, I can dig, but I don't know. He said, all I know. He's like, all I remember was. Well, he said, all I remember was it came as like a thing that it only worked in like that old Microsoft like video for Windows framework they made for encoding videos on Windows. He's like, it was something for that.
Really? That's
Whereas
crazy.
Like the original one will actually work in Virtual Dub on a Windows 95 machine. Like Virtual Dub can recognize it and use it.
So you've also messed around quite a bit with VCD, right? Video CD, XVCD, and you've kind of tapped out the max potential of that for the Saturn as well, yeah?
Video CD's easy.
Easy,
like,
right? TMT, PG or whatever, you just use that tool.
Yeah, and it's like the bit rate of the disk drive is about 300 kilobytes per second, give or take.
Right.
So like I found I could push up to a
282 or something like that?
The limit is like I can get to, because MPEG encoders go in kilobits per second, not kilobytes.
Yeah.
So I can get like 200, I can get like 2200 kilobits per second for video and 224 kilobits per second for audio, and it plays just fine. The absolute max you could push combined, I think, is somewhere around 2500 to 2700, give or take, based on how the disk drive works. But at that one, you can sometimes start to get skipping. But again, that's almost overkill for the resolution you're working with.
Dang it!
That's why I like when
smacking that wall.
That's why when we did the FMV competition, we kind of said that's the cheater category.
Right. Okay.
It's like in one go, I made a disc that could play on, in theory, it could play on the Saturn, the PS1, and even the 3DO and win.
Right. And that's just not fair.
It took me like 10 minutes. That's why I'm like, this isn't
that OP. Yeah.
And the other thing with the video CD card is like, when that's happening, the Saturn has no idea what's going on. It's just getting a video signal pumped into it from the external. It's like completely oblivious to what's going on.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's almost like an overlay. Is it like?
Basically, how it works is you can have the Saturn interact with it if you want to do other stuff with it. But if you're just playing video, how it works is VDP2 has an external background layer that has a pin that is hooked up to both the cartridge port and that video CD port. And then there's also an external audio input hooked up to, I believe, the SCSP that's again hooked up to both those ports. So all the video CD card is doing when it's playing a video CD is it's just piping that video signal it's made into that external BG, and VDP2 just displays like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the rest of the Saturn hardware is there just doing nothing when it's going on. All the MPEG decoding, the decoding buffer, the software, it's all on that card.
Wow.
So it's just like,
that's fascinating.
The Saturn's kind of just, it's oblivious to what's going on. Now there are things you can do with it. There's certain, you can say like, oh, I want to actually like copy what it decoded into VRAM and use it as a texture on VDP1. You can do that.
Right.
It'll downsample it to 15-bit RGB for you and send it over. So like you could run a game and all that over top of it and all that kind of stuff.
Basically, anytime I hit 32, it's just over. Round over. That's kind of crazy though. Yeah, I mean at the end of the day, it's awesome, but then when you it's, well, that's why you're obligated to have another piece of hardware that's very kind of hard to come by, and they didn't make that many of them.
The other thing is that people don't realize is that card, when it came out, cost, I think it was like $250. It's like
really?
1995, I think like late 94, 95 is when that card...
Are you adjusting for inflation or something like that, or was it really...
No, that's just the exchange rate at the time.
What about the UK version, like the PAL video card or whatever? Like
I think it was about the same price, but it's basically when it came out in Japan...
It's ridiculous.
If you convert the yen cost of it over, it's about $200 to $250 is what it came to, and it came out with like maybe a month or two after the Saturn launched in Japan, I think.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's nuts. That's more than half the price of what you would have paid for your Saturn.
Right.
So it's like, no duh, you're getting amazing video quality off of it.
You're paying for it.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, it's nice, it's a neat thing, but it's like, it really was like, this is a premium thing. It wasn't for like the average consumer.
It's like if you wanted to if you obviously didn't know about DVD yet, or DVD hadn't hit yet, at least on any kind of mass consumer scale. And
do you remember those Xboxes that you used to be able to buy that were like customized, that had like double the amount of RAM in them, and they were turned into media centers and were overclocked? Yes. It's the equivalent of that, and it would be like, oh, why didn't more things use that? It's like, really?
Well, there's a cost involved. With Cinepack, it's free as long as you know how to use it, you know, and
it's one of those things where it's like, the only place where it would really start to get tricky is if you're trying to do like what some of the PS1 games do, where they draw 3D over top FMV, and that's really more of like a RAM management issue. Yeah. But again, the PS1 has the same issue, and it's able to pull it off. It has hardware decoding, but on the PS1, when you're drawing 3D on top of FMV like that, it needs to be copied into RAM and into VRAM to be drawn on top of, and it's downsampled to 15-bit color.
So hypothetically, if Cinepack or Radius or whatever, the company that owned it, if they had wanted to create their own proprietary format of movies, Cinepack discs, right? You know,
like that was what it was originally developed for. That was the idea.
Really?
I believe
could you do that? Could you, like, using the compression, like all of the knowledge that you have, could you essentially create, I mean, I'm guessing the answer is yes based on your recent submission, but could you create an entire Cinepack movie of like Star Wars or whatever with controls and everything like that? Like with some kind of...
It would probably be 3 discs.
3 discs?
You can fit about 45 minutes of FMV on a disc, give or take.
Ah, I gotcha. Well, I'm trashing this.
That was why I didn't do any. I wanted to do another Christmas special this year, but all the Christmas specials I looked at were like an hour long. The Rudolph one was about an hour. I'm just looking through them like these are all more than what I can fit on a disc.
Right. So if you wanted to do like Die Hard, it would have to be like 2 discs, right?
2 or 3 probably.
2 or 3. Yeah. And then if it's like a movie that's in widescreen or something like that, there'd be more detail.
Yeah. Or you'd lose either that, or it would be a thing of where you'd letterbox it and then you'd have lower resolution, maybe fit a bit more. I
would love it though if you or someone, I know I say you, it's easier said than done, but I would love it if someone wrote a new VCD player. Because seriously, the one that JVC wrote, or whoever wrote it, it's just obviously, as you know, it's a little bit lacking. And I mean, it does that thing where it cuts off sides of the image.
Well, it's basically running in the wrong resolution mode.
Right. Or okay, so then if somebody could just like reverse engineer that and fix that, like patch that out, maybe both.
The thing with it is it's built into a ROM chip on the card. So it's kind of one of those things, it would be like trying to swap the BIOS.
Could you like replace it in software though? Could you like run a piece of software that would basically say, hey, run this instead of that?
You would probably need to make a boot disk that would then know how, it would put its own bit of software in there and know how to read a video CD.
Right.
That's what you would need.
You hearing this, Bo Bales? Like, or anybody else that would be interested in doing this. Yeah, because I don't know if a lot of people are aware of this. They just kind of play video CDs they probably think...
I did a demo a while back where I just encoded something at VCD spec, and it was a piece of like custom Saturn software. Like it wasn't a legit video CD. You couldn't play it in anything but a Saturn, but it ran in the right resolution mode and looked fine. So it's like it can do it in the right resolution mode. It just needs the software to do it. Right,
and aren't the games the MPEG games that use that, they're doing it in the right resolution?
Some of them, like Lunar is just 320 by 224, so it's the same resolution as what you're getting out of the video CD player anyways.
Oh, okay. But is it cutting off the sides though?
No, because it's the video is actually the right size.
Right.
Because if you did like 320 as your spec, like one thing I did once is I just did it as 320, but then I pillar boxed it in a 352, and that looked fine and didn't cut it off.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like if you're playing actual video CDs, it's not going to look right.
Yeah.
You're going to be zoomed in a bit.
Come on, get there, get there, get there. Nice. If I can string this together. Nope. Okay, then I hit. Like right then I have to say something. Open my fat mouth and completely jinx my entire run. God, this is frustrating. I don't see myself beating my own best time unless I can really just get the timing down on these drifts. Yeah. This is going to end up being over. Yep, 32. Or 33.
The one scene I find really impressive with what they're doing to FMV is the N64 guys.
Oh, yeah. That one was crazy.
They have it doing H264.
Didn't you say that was like a cheat or something like that? Or what was...
No, it's actual software is what they're doing with it. It's not something we could do on Saturn. It is because they have on N64 they have a 90 megahertz CPU and they have some assembly codes for actually helping with DCT compression. So it's like he said it's like thousands of lines of N64 assembly code to do it.
Oh, you're kidding. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
like,
I mean,
it is nuts and highly optimized what he came up with. Even then he said a lot of like because H264 has a bunch of different encoding profiles, and he cut a bunch of those out. Like he's like, certain ones they're just not supported. Don't even try it. There's that side of it, and I think he said he can get up to like 400 to 800 kilobits per second. That's kilobits. So like on Saturn we get it like to 24,000 of that. So like that's what he's like a fraction of the bit rate we can do is the fastest he can do on it. But it's H264, and as he said, like it's not going to work miracles, but it can help quite a bit and put out something pretty decent looking.
Yeah.
Because like the one thing he was talking about, he's like I could probably do what they did on. He's like I could probably encode all of the Resident Evil 2 videos using my codec and fit in the cart space of what it fit in the N64 game, and it would look better. So I think he said he can get about 25 to 30 minutes on a 64 megabyte cart, and that was enough for him to do Dragon's Lair.
Yeah. And Dragon's Lair was, the
Laserdisc.
Laserdisc. What was that? MPEG-1? Or was it something proprietary?
Laserdisc is analog.
Oh, it's analog, but so there's like no video format.
There's no compression or anything. It's just the analog composite video signal on the disc.
How does that work? I understand that it's analog and it's been explained to me before, but I have no idea how to conceptualize.
They just took like an analog TV signal and just stored it on the disc basically. So it's like technically like stored in like pits and that like on a CD, but instead of it being a digital like video signal, it's an analog signal is what you're reading off.
It's not ones and zeros then.
Yeah.
It's what? Like
I mean, really, the only way to really describe it is like it's.
I don't get it.
Video,
okay, like a record player. So like a record player, right? It's like vibrations, right? That makes audio. The needle.
Like, think of like your VHS tapes.
Yes.
It's an analog magnetic signal on there.
Okay.
Whereas it's like they took that analog signal and stored it as like how it would be on a pressed like disc, like a CD or a laser disc in this case.
Right.
And the laser's able to read that off.
That's incredible. Like I don't get it.
That's why they're so big.
Yeah. Yeah, and they have a look to them. When you look at it, you see the grooves. Like it's almost like looking at a shiny vinyl record or something like that.
Right, and it's just one of those things where the thing that Laserdisc was really good at, I'd say, is the audio. So it's like Laserdiscs in most cases had completely uncompressed audio on them.
Really?
So they'd they'd have analog, but then later on they found ways where like, okay, if we reduce, because you originally got like an hour per side, I'm like, well, if we reduce that to like 50 minutes, we get a little more space and we can put a digital audio signal in there. And what they started doing on a lot of them is they would just dump the digital theatrical audio mix on there. So like one of the last ones released was Star Wars Episode 1. And that has the digital Dolby 5.1 theatrical mix on it.
Really?
And it's still to this day like blows the socks off of even the Blu-ray.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? That's like, crazy.
Like the Blu-ray, I think it's like a 7.1 or 7.2 mix, and people have done like comparisons where they've said like, okay, I recorded the 5.1 mix and I recorded the 7.2 mix off both discs, and then so you can actually hear the difference in Blu-ray. I've converted them to Dolby Pro Logic. It's like it's night and day what it sounds like. Like when the lightsabers clash and everything, you're hearing like booms that if you haven't seen it in the theater in like 20 plus years, you completely forgot were there.
Wow. Steve, if you're listening, I have to say, I don't know how you did this. I really don't know how I can find 2 more seconds, you know? Like, I just don't know. That's just insane on this country's court. Because I'm not hitting anything, and I'm still not touching his time. You know?
I don't know what to say.
And I just hit something.
We're really aggressive with the racing lines, and just almost hitting everything, just barely scraping by.
And you have to run the whole thing perfect. And even then,
pretty much like foot to the floor the whole time, and just.
Didn't you say there was a Japanese player who did like 150?
I think that's what's listed on like speedrun as the very world record on it.
That's incredible.
I mean, there's definitely a little bit more time under what I did.
That's crazy.
But I can't imagine actually hitting that 150. It's insane.
So here's the only place that I could pull those seconds from. The only place that I would really find it is, you know how we're using automatic transmission, and when the revs are dropping, being able to go into 5th gear would keep those revs high. That's the only difference. You know, you'd be able to control those revs and keep them high, but you'd have to be a shifting master, you know?
I'm not doing any of that. I either automatic or manual, and just leave it in sixth for this course. And
right. Like, but if you, yeah, so like, and that's the thing too, is I actually found that I did better on these courses in manual transmission. Dave. I'm not even spelling my name right. Okay, now I gotta hurry. So running these straight courses, you know, like this in Grunwald, I noticed that I'm not gonna make it. Oh, okay, I made it. So country and Grunwald in manual transmission, it works. You don't have to do too much shifting, right? And there's a couple of spots where it really helps. So you're able to kind of just, you know, push it down into fifth, power through the turn, and then kick it right back up to sixth and keep going, right? And it shaves like a tiny little bit of time off. But when it comes to doing it in the arcade mode, you're stuck in manual for the Brickwall Town. And that one, because it has so many constant turns and stuff like that, it's like a brain bender doing the manual, you know, like shifting through that. I end up making a mistake and I'll shift down instead of shifting up. And then it's like I ruin my entire run. So I cannot do Brickwall Town in manual because I don't have that extra like bandwidth to think about the shifting. I just need to be like thinking about the line, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I don't race the arcade mode in manual, because I always get stuck messing it up in Brickwall Town. But yeah, you can maybe in the time attack, if you go manual transmission on country, you might find a few more. In fact, I could try it right now. Let's see, standard, manual, and the difference would just be just downshifting in some of those corners and then upshifting immediately. I'll try it and see if I shave anything off or if I add. So it starts you out in sixth, I believe. Yeah, so this is all the same, basically. Just hold it, go down, and then hold it back up. You can kind of, when we come over here, it slows down. Yeah, see, you're able to kind of keep those revs up by dropping it down into fifth gear. But that's not a great time for the first lap either.
Well, I need to hop off.
Yeah, go ahead.
I sent you a link there, Dave, if you want to hear what Star Wars on Laserdisc sounds like.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But I'll see you.
See ya. No. So far, no good. I'm adding time instead of subtracting it.
Yeah, it's kind of the trick, is like what speed is fifth gear topped out at?
Well, true. Really, I think it's just when you're going around here and it's dropping down, you want to be able to punch it a little bit and not lose those revs. So yeah, I don't know what speed it tops out at, honestly. I'm just experimenting here. I think that the conventional wisdom, though, is that manual transmission is faster, just because you're able to control so much of your RPM. But that's the thing, is it would probably take a while to master that. I'm only using it sparingly here. See, I just used it sparingly there to avoid slowing down. And I ended up with more time. so yeah, it's just hard to kind of like relearn something you've been doing a certain way, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's how the best end up eking out a little bit extra, though. They go manual. But yeah, that's not for the faint of heart. I don't think I'm going to be doing that. I definitely couldn't do the drifting thing on Brickwall in manual. I don't think. I think I would, because I'm not paying attention to the shifting, and when I look over there every once in a while, I see it's like shifting up, shifting down while I'm doing all those like drifts, and I'm like, okay, yeah, there's no way I would be able to do that. Keep track of all that.
With enough practice, I bet that'd be fine. Just knowing where you are on the track and what gear you need to drop down into at whatever point. Well, just okay. I'm at this point. I need to hit. I need to downshift twice for.
Right. Exactly. And I mean, I wish there was I kind of want to use the acceleration and brake, the analog things to the triggers to shift up and down. That feels more comfortable to me than using like one of the buttons, but then you'd give up your analog acceleration. So I just kind of leave it as it is, but I'm actually going to call it a day. Because I've got other stuff that I need to go cut some wood for the fire pit. We just got a new fire pit, so that's going to be fun. But yeah, good luck, Steve. I don't think I'm going to be touching your time anytime soon. We should do.
There's almost a month left for people to put some pressure on me.
We've got time. We've got time to grind. It's just exactly.
The fact that the three of us are so close to this. Yeah. I mean, other people can come up out of nowhere too, and. It's just it's a lot of practice, and we're hitting like the moment of like diminishing returns, basically. Like you could dump 3 hours one night into this, and maybe you get one good perfect run and you shave like a millisecond off your own time, right? But that's like 3 hours. I think I'm probably at the point now of just about I'd be spending an hour on the game to save a tenth or two maybe.
So that's the thing, and the message I think to most people is like, if you're thinking about playing this game, your initial investment, I would say, is relatively low. Like if you spend, let's say, 5 hours in this game, you can get like 90% there. And then the rest, you're going to be spending multiple hours just trying to get a little bit better than yourself, That's the thing. So that's the point that we're at, is just, but it's not that much of an initial investment just to be able to finish, to finish the arcade mode.
With only a couple hours in, you can get decent enough and have a lot of fun with the game.
5 is a conservative number. I think most people would probably be able to finish in a couple of hours once they're like, oh, okay, this is how this works. But I mean, like that's not asking a lot, Granted, a lot of folks won't be buying this, so they won't feel that kind of sense of obligation to like stick with it. And when you just fire an image up on an ODE, there's just not as much buy-in. But I mean, hopefully the community challenge gives folks that incentive that just kind of like stick with it, because there's a really good game in here, minus the sometimes the crippling frame rate that can't be forgiven really, but I mean, aside from that, like I think we're all just doing fine in lieu of that.
I'm kind of glad for the community challenge, because it made me put those first couple hours in, and since then I see how the game actually is.
Absolutely. Well, until next time, this has been SaturnDave and Sega Steve and Trekkie's a little while back, reminding you guys that you must play your Sega Saturn. Go check out Sega Touring Car, join the Discord, and join in this community event that goes all the way until February 29th. So it'll be a lot of fun. There's you could play somewhere, I'm sure. You don't have to win them all, but there's going to be prizes, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, until next time, we'll catch you later. I don't really have a credit sequence for this or anything, so yeah, I'm just going to end this stream, but we'll catch you guys next time. See ya.